His father on the left-hand side there as chats away in the paddock before we get ready for this second session of free practice get underway Saturday morning. Michael Schumacher has been dominating things so far, but the Williams have been getting closer and closer, and if there's a track on which they feel they may well be able to challenge Ferrari, Montoya does feel it could be this one. Winner here last year and indeed pole position sitter 12 months ago, Juan Pablo Montoya. So let's just see whether they're going to be able to back up that performance with similar again this time around. Down inside the BAR Honda pit, work going on Jacques Villeneuve's car now that it's been brought back in. So hopefully they can solve whatever issue arose there. It just sort of died out on the circuit for him. David Richards, team principal for BAR Honda. And they've had a busy time this week, actually, the last couple of weeks with their testing program. They had all four drivers in action. Anthony Davidson was back in action for the team. Of course, not racing for Minardi any longer, but still testing for BAR Honda as he was earlier on this year. And there's still a chance that Anthony Davidson could end up in one of these yellow cars. He has been talking to Eddie Jordan, and there is still a chance that he might end up as Grand Prix driver for the team next year. So we seem to have a little bit of a problem with John's mic there, so hopefully we can get it. That's it. Sounds better now. So there we are, John. I think we're back connected with you, hopefully, and we'll be able to hear what's going on. We'll just sort out our little technical problems that we have in the moment. I can see absolutely beautiful weather conditions at Monza at the moment. It should be stunning for qualifying this afternoon. And with the temperature coming up, that could, as we say, change things around just a little bit. But John, so far today, we've seen Michael on top of the tree once more. No great surprise about that, I suppose. The question is now, in this second session of 45 minutes, that's really where we want to see whether, with the fuel pumped out, whether Williams can use that BMW horsepower to its best effect and give Michael a bit of a hard time as we get towards qualifying.
Well, I think that we can see that in qualifying, and I think we saw Williams working towards that towards the end of that session when they took they lowered the car basically, and they're trying to pick up downforce as well as speed. The problem is that Ferrari and Michael Schumacher in particular, just every time there's been any hint of pressure, just go out and go quicker. We haven't seen Michael run on a fresh set of tyres so far this morning, other than maybe what he had taken or was available to him. So come qualifying, will he do 4 runs? Will he do 3 runs? We know that the Bridgestone appears on cars other than Ferrari to take more than 1 flying lap to get up to speed. Whether that'll be the case with Ferrari this afternoon, we don't know, but I think it's going to be very difficult to see anybody beat them. But if it will come from Williams, most notably from Montoya. But Raikkonen and David Coulthard, they're going to be probably in the second row.
Well, Ferrari have certainly had a number of pole positions here over the years, some 15 pole positions at Monza over the years. But BMW have also done well, and Nelson Piquet taking pole positions here with the Brabham BMW in the past, Patrese as well with BMW horsepower, Teo Fabi once as well with the Benetton, and then of course last year Montoya with the BMW power in the back of the Williams. Honda themselves have had some great success in the past, a consecutive run of 4 pole positions courtesy of Ayrton Senna. So we've seen the engine manufacturers at various times come out on top here. As we've said before, it is very much an engine circuit combined with a good aerodynamic setup on the car. And there, Ralf Schumacher, only 1 pole position to his name in his career so far. That was at Manicure last year. Didn't really match Montoya here 12 months ago. We'll have to see how he gets on today. He's been a little bit stronger than Montoya in more recent qualifying sessions. Don't forget, at Spa, out-qualified him with Montoya only starting in 5th place on the grid in Spa, with Ralf starting 4th, and in Hungary as well. Ralf Schumacher starting in 3rd place, Montoya down in 4th place.
Well, there's an interesting view. Toyota maintain or say that Parabolica is the most important corner because it governs the speed down the straight, and that's absolutely true. But we've seen in terms of a lap time that I think the 2 Lesmos, and it's that second sector of the circuit where teams have struggled to match that of Michael Schumacher and Ferrari, who have been consistently the quickest through that second sector of the circuit.
So we're waiting, actually we're only a few seconds away now from the green light coming on at the end of the pit lane. Some teams ready, some not. David Coulthard just about to climb aboard the McLaren. Has had a pole position here before, and I'd love to be able to repeat that. It doesn't seem so likely. He was driving for Williams when he had pole position here before. That was back in 1995, and that was in a remarkable race. He spun on the warm-up lap to his embarrassment, but then there was a big shunt at the first corner, so they had to restart the race, and he was out. David was able to get out in the spare car. It was also that bizarre race where we looked like we were going to get a Ferrari win. The camera fell off Alesi's car, actually hit the front suspension on Berger's car, took Berger out, and then a few laps later Alesi went out for the wheel bearing failure. Those were the days when a Ferrari win didn't seem very likely. Nowadays, of course, it seems to be Ferrari all the way, but it's all cyclical. I'm sure it will change again in coming seasons. Meanwhile, as we wait for cars to come out, Nick Damon has caught up with Mark Webber.
Mark Webber, very good save there during that session. You looked like you were going for the barrier, but a nice bit of counter steering.
Yeah, I think I just got a bit close to Fizzy in the braking area and just snatched the front right. So yeah, as soon as you get wide, it was all over. So yeah, I was surprised how quick I was going in the gravel. Actually, you don't realise how quick it is there. But yeah, we going, oh, the barrier's coming. Oh, no, we should be all right. So yeah, managed to get it back on.
But a difficult circuit for you, really. This is where the lack of power, in relative terms, is really showing, isn't it?
You said that. It's for sure the big boys. You know, this is where all the money that comes, you know, in terms of what the resources they put into their engines is, you know, it's a lot of time on full throttle here, and you know, I can only press the throttle so hard. So we're just going through now what sort of wing levels we're going to run, because at the moment we're about 2 or 3, 4 Ks around the big boys, so we think that's maybe a little bit too light on wings, so we're going to just try and come down a little bit and try and obviously win some time in the corners.
We're obviously working very hard and going as fast as you can. When are you going to get a faster car?
I've got a quick road car already, but race car, working on it, yeah. It's very close obviously, but we'll wait a bit longer, I think, until everything's sorted out.
Mark, best of luck, thank you.
Mark not giving much away at this stage, as Ralf Schumacher is one of the first, in fact the only car on circuit for the moment. Everyone else not quite ready to come out. Williams are prepared to get Ralf out straight away, and we have the view from on board. Once again, that mirror camera, and gives you a little bit of an opportunity to see not only the bumpiness of the straight, but how this track really is surrounded by trees. It has been an issue in the past with the conservationists, even when it was very first built in the 1920s, or just before that, when they first opened this track, there was a problem from the conservationists who didn't want the trees cut down, and they had to stop work for a little while before they could restart it again. So it's nothing new, but the trees do make a beautiful backdrop to parts of the track.
Well, it is a lovely setting. It is a municipal park, a public park, and there are not very many racetracks in the world with a setting like at Monza, and that is one of the drawbacks, that some of the issues, I mean, this first chicane, for example, there's very limited amount of space available. So what do you do? I mean, what I would do is I would take the chicane out and let them run flat out down through the Curva Grande, or put in some, maybe a little bit of a tighter initial entry into this corner. But again, trees on the right hand side, very, very difficult to do.
Well, let's stay with Ralf here, coming down into the second chicane now. Use the curves, bang over there just a little bit, and now heading down towards the Lesmos. Let's listen. That looked pretty neat and tidy.
Well, I would say he's on it. I mean, that looks like a fairly substantial commitment, particularly very late in the brakes into the second Lesmo.
That third chicane's interesting, John, because you take a lot of speed in, but you can't just floor the throttle straight away, can you? You're having to work on the car and balance all the way through it.
Yes, the left-hand entry, then you have to balance the car on the throttle as you go right. You want to go flat, but you know, if you do, you're going to restrict what you do on the exit through the final left-hand part of that corner. So Ralf Schumacher, personal best, and he does improve up to fourth. So he's got a personal best in the second sector, and now fourth quickest ahead of Kimi Raikkonen.
Well, just two cars on track now. David Coulthard has joined the circuit, but they're the only two out there now, as everyone else, there was a short interval between the two sessions, and everyone else still finishing off work.
It was interesting that Ralf did pick up time in that second sector. a huge effort coming from him through the second Lesmo in particular, as Ross moves slightly gingerly around the Ferrari garage, not trying to put any additional pressure or strain on his back, and just the whole body language is not, you can see he's not without some pain.
No, that's right. Back problems, always very tiring, of course, and poor Ross having to put up with that at the moment, but he is here having missed out on Friday free practice. Jarno Trulli in fairly detailed discussion with the engineers at Renault as they look forward to a decent qualifying session. He's had some good performances, particularly in qualifying this year, as we've expected to see really in the past from the Italian. It's getting the decent race finishes that doesn't seem to always work out for him. Never had a race victory, never had a pole position either, but he's qualified 7th last time out Spa, 6th in Hungary. Back with Mark Webber now. We heard from him a few moments ago. They're going to try and change the aerodynamic downforce on the car to see if he can improve on his current 1 minute 25.2, so he's 9/10 of a second slower than Takuma Sato at this stage.
Yes, and what they're talking about doing is just putting a little bit more downforce on to get a lap time. Running with a very low downforce setup is something that they might do for the race, but in terms of a night lap time, it's not about maximum top speed, it's about lap speed. So Minardi are going to try and see if they can drag a bit more grip and speed out of the car, out of some of these corners.
Marc Genet, test driver for Williams BMW, one of the test drivers. Antonio Pizzonia, also test driver. Talking of Pizzonia and the Formula 3000s, interesting grid for the final Formula 3000 race of the year. Ralph not quite happy with the braking on the Williams. Talking about the 3000s though, Bjorn Wertheim is on pole position for Arden in the Formula 3000s, but of the championship contenders, Giorgio Pantano, who's still got a chance, he's qualified 2nd and the best of the championship contenders. Then Thomas Enger has qualified 3rd, but there is a little bit of a cloud hanging over Enger in that as he has been found to have tested positive on a drugs test. A trace of cannabis has been traced in a sample they took after Hungary, so that is a situation that has to be resolved. And Sebastian Bourdais, the man who actually leads the championship by a point, he's down in 7th place on the grid. Pizzonia, who we mentioned, he's qualified 5th for the Formula 3000 race, which will take place at Monza this afternoon. So lots to watch out for in the 3000s, but let's concentrate now on the Formula 1 cars. Nick Damon has caught up with Sauber driver Felipe Massa.
Felipe Massa, session started. Work on your car. What's the problem?
We have a little problem in the drive shaft, but now we change. I think maybe 5 minutes should be okay. And I think we have a big improvement from yesterday, and for sure we have to improve a little bit more. But I think we are in the right way to improve the car.
How are you getting on with the hands device this weekend?
I think it's, for me, I already try a lot in the winter test in the middle of the season, and I never had a big problems. For sure it's much more comfortable without, but for me it's okay, and I already get used.
Some of the other Bridgestone runners are having problems getting the tyres to work quickly enough for qualifying. Have you got round that problem?
Yes, we have also this problem. It's a lot to get the right temperature, so maybe we need few laps to do the best lap time, but now we try to improve the setup for that.
Alan McNish has just taken a trip across the gravel. There you see him, he's down at Lesmo 1 and rejoined. So like Mark Webber earlier, there's no bad consequence from it, but he moves well out of the way there as one of the Jordans comes through.
Yes, Fisichella comes through, so Alan McNish getting caught out. We don't know whether it was in the same manner. Let's look and see. Well, it may have been, but certainly had no chance of getting around the corner. In the case of Webber, in the first part of the session, he locked a brake. We just caught the entry onto the gravel for McNish, so it could have been a similar problem, and tyres looking very shiny. So let's go back to Nick Heidfeld.
Now, while track action continues, Matt's got a chance to speak to Renault's third driver, Fernando Alonso. Matt.
Thanks, Ben. Yes, Fernando, we know you're a busy man with all your work as a test driver. We also saw you busy on the catwalk the other night. What sort of fun was that?
Different job that the drivers will have out of the circuits. Media events and something like that. And, yeah, it was quite different.
I understand it was more fun than having to wait around until you can actually get back in a Formula One car and race. How frustrating is that for you?
A little bit, obviously, for any racing driver. The best thing is to race and drive the car. But, you know, I think it's good for me to be test driver 1 year, know the team, know the people, the car, and next year I have a very good opportunity and I hope the best for the team and for me.
Of course, you have raced before for Minardi, but how big is the step up from test driving to actually racing?
Yeah, it's quite big. Obviously, you know, you miss the races and test driver, you do a lot of tests, but you know, you miss the pit stop, the stars, and the first 2 or 3 races next year will be a little bit difficult for me. But you know, we try to do as many kilometers as possible in the winter to improve and to arrive at the 100% in Australia.
Well, it's not that long until Australia. We look forward to seeing you in action there. Fernando, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. Well, on track at the moment, Kimi Raikkonen has just been showing us that he's still trying pretty hard. He just ran a fraction wide a moment ago, no damage done, and he's still on a reasonably quick lap as a result. He's currently 5th fastest, although this isn't going to be a mega lap, this one. Just watch from that onboard camera right down on the front wing of the McLaren.
Do it yesterday properly. Jensen has done it well. He's gotten away with it, but a big scare.
Dear oh dear.
Car removed to safety. That's a fairly quick part of the track that the car is beached. So again, yellow lights, yellow flags, and frustration for those teams and drivers that have been wanting to go out. And Flavio, well, no cigarette on the pit wall, but the only place in the paddock these days you can be seen to smoke. So Flavio just wonders what happened. Let's look at it again and see. Well, again, there's the back end. You can see, we've seen with Michelin in a low downforce setup that when the back end breaks away, it's a very abrupt and pretty much almost impossible car to catch. And Jensen just goes round in a series of loops as gravel and dust. He walks away. Car looks pretty much undamaged, though no doubt underneath the car the bodywork and the underbody itself will suffer damage. De La Rosa's car did do a bit of damage underneath when he did his run through that particular gravel trap. The car will be hoisted up and removed to safety behind the barrier, but again a further frustration for Jensen because it means he's going to lose time in this final session which would lead up to qualifying. He's not wanting to go to qualifying not knowing precisely which tyre or which setup he's going to go for.
That's right. Well, it doesn't seem to be too many glum faces down at Renault. They all seem quite cheerful anyway, but that is a disappointment. He won't get the chance to run the car fully light on fuel, and so as you say, he has to sort of relearn it at the beginning of qualifying. Cars are really very different to drive in qualifying trim to how they have been running for much of the free practices. They're getting there now. They're certainly running much lighter.
But we are quicker on the straight. This is my feeling. Looks good to me. I mean, 23.9, 23.9. I don't know where the tyres gone down a little bit. Maybe it's possible, but I think also the track is getting better. Let's go back now. Go and do another run straight away. Have we got any doubts? Yeah, we do the crash helmet and go back, please. Up 3 mil on the front, back to the 10 mil gap.
A little bit of back-to-back test.
Traffic, gents, Gianno Trulli was going to change helmet. So there we see now what the difference is in helmets, whether it's just a radio connection or whether there's something that they want to try as we watch Felipe Massa. And look at the rear wing in that Cyber. We've seen Nick Heidfeld record fastest times in terms of speed in the first and second sectors in his Cyber, and clearly a very small amount of rear wing for both of these two Cybers.
So Felipe making his way through the chicane. Nick Damon was talking to him a little while ago. They've obviously sorted out whatever problems they had. And talking of Nick Damon, he's been busy again. He's now talking to David Richards.
David Richards going quite well through to right at the end of the last session. When Jack pulled over, what was the problem?
There's a clutch problem. It's a problem we know well about yesterday, and it'll be easily resolved now.
Now, we've had a word with a number of Bridgestone runners, a little concerned about qualifying, but not the race. Do you share this issue about getting the heat in the tyres?
Yeah, there seems to be getting some heat in the front tyres seems to be the problem here, but as you rightly say, they're very strong for the race, and after all, the events are won in the racing on Sunday, not in qualifying necessarily.
Where do you think you'll be at the end of qualifying? Do you think you've got this problem where you're going to be behind a stack of Michelin runners?
Well, I think you looks like we might see a similar trend that we saw in Spa, but hopefully we can sort of just pip ourselves into the top 10. Who knows?
With the new tyres, has this traditionally this has always been a solid one-stopper. Is this changing now this year with a softer tyre?
The tyres aren't an awful lot softer actually this year. It's and both our tyres are very similar. So I think you just have to wait and see how everyone plays it tomorrow, won't you?
Thanks, Dave.
Well, this has traditionally been second through the last sector, although he was up on the first two.
Yes, I don't know where that should have been. It looked pretty fair sailing. Maybe just that little bit of reduction on downforce through that very long parabolic corner was enough just to inch away a couple of those tenths of seconds.
Michael's on the pace once again, as we would have come to expect every time he comes out. First flying lap is nearly always right up there, and this lap is only a fraction slower than his best to date. He is fastest overall this morning, remember, by only a couple of hundredths of a second, but that's enough to put him ahead of Montoya, Coulthard and Ralf Schumacher.
Oh, problem for that Montoya it was.
Yeah, that was down at the second chicane. So we'll take another look in a moment and see what happens. De La Rosa, meanwhile, is on a good lap.
But Michael Schumacher, fastest of everybody in that second sector. So he was a fraction off in the first, up on the second. Ralf Schumacher third. Here comes Michael into Parabolica.
Yep, this is going to take the time further out of reach. This could well be into the 1 minute 21 second bracket. Here we go. Let's just see how fast it is. Across the line he comes, and it's a 21.8, so he's the first into the 1 minute 21s. Very happy with that indeed, after 17 laps have been completed, and the Tifosi will celebrate another stunning performance.
Yeah, but another legend out there, Jaguar Pedro de la Rosa. He's improved, fifth quickest, splitting the two McLaren Mercedes.
So it's getting pretty intense, the competition. The Michelin runners are obviously in pretty good shape when it comes to that one single fast lap.
And Michael's at it again, fastest of all once again in that first sector. As we see Montoya, let's have a look and see what goes on at the third chicane. Oh, Montoya.
Yes, that was why we saw him going so slowly down there.
That's down in the fact of the second chicane. That's where it all went wrong for the Colombian. So he managed to stay away from anything that was too damaging to the underside of the car. Schumacher, fastest of all in the second sector.
And look at Patrick. This was talking to Pietri Pasquier, and you can see him showing the car behaviour. But this is Michael, and he's on a really fast lap this time. His first and second sectors are well up on what he's done before. This is really going to set everybody talking. Look at the car out of there. It looks so stable, he's so fast, carrying the speed out of the Parabolica, and it's a 121.328. It's getting quicker and quicker, and that 160 mile an hour average is getting closer and closer. He needs to get down to a 1 minute 21.0 to achieve it.
Well, they've got ideal temperatures, 25 degrees, track 17 ambient. So, amazing time for Michael Schumacher. That's, in fact, just over a second faster than last year's pole position. And your potential 160 mile an hour average lap here in the Autodromo Nazionale Monza could well become a reality when we go into qualifying in just some 2.5 hours' time.
Yep, it's up to 159.3 average speed around this track now with that lap. So Williams have got some work to do to try and close the gap to Michael Schumacher, try and take their second successive pole position after Montoya took it here 12 months ago. Ralf Schumacher not far behind, then Coulthard, De La Rosa up there, 5th fastest currently, Raikkonen, then Irvine, Massa, Salo and McNish, both Toyotas up in the top 10 now.
Sato goes 9th. So a big improvement, and that's now the second of what I would call the private Bridgestone teams into the top 10. Felipe Massa's 8th in the Sauber, Takuma Sato 9th for Jordan.
So great effort indeed. Remember that Barrichello's car's still being repaired, engine being changed, so he's not been back out on track again ever since completing just 4 laps early on this morning. Montoya waits in pit lane currently, and he's completed 18 laps, as has Michael Schumacher as he heads back into pit lane.
Well, Ross Brawn just overseeing, not maybe as heavily involved in the proceedings here today. And those tyres, well, they're fresh, but certainly not brand new. You can tell by the gleam in between the blocks and the grooves. So pushed back into the pits, and 121.328. So Ben, I think assuming the weather doesn't get very hot between 1 and 2, we could easily see that 160 mile an hour lap here at Monza. But in fact, you could probably see if Michael gets it right, or maybe even Montoya, because those are the two most likely suspects to even exceed and get into maybe a high 1 minute 20 second lap.
Well, that's going to be quite some achievement, and already they're about nearly a second faster than they were last year in qualifying, and of course we'll expect them to gain that little bit more speed anyway in the 1 hour session. So again, evidence of how quickly progress is made in Formula One, partly due to the tyre battles between Michelin and Bridgestone, partly the development work done by the teams, in particular Ferrari this year. The honour truly heads in, and both of the Renaults find themselves 14th and 16th at the moment. Mika Salo here is 10th. He's just been pushed down to that by Takuma Sato, and he now heads back into the pits as well. So 21.5 minutes remaining, and Nick Heidfeld with those high speed trap figures, but not converting it into such a fast pace, although this is actually a slightly better lap coming up from him.
Yes, personal best in that second sector, but of course a lot of this has been done for the waist, as Nick would say. He has a problem pronouncing it was into the Parabolica, and good drive, good exit, so maybe Nick can see an improvement. He is 12th, and he's within, well, a few hundredths of a second of Alan McNish in 11th. He stays 12th, improves his time, but doesn't improve position.
So there you can see the speeds across the speed trap. 3:58 for Massa there is the fastest we've seen so far, at about 224 miles an hour. Now, we've spoken to a test driver earlier. That was Fernando Alonso. While this session continues, Peter Windsor has been catching up with another test driver, the one for Williams, Marc Genet.
Mark, nice to see you here on the pit wall at Williams BMW. What did you think of that spin of Jensen's then?
It's a dangerous place because you try to be as close to the outside as possible, and it's very easy to put the tire on the grass and spin round, but he didn't hit anything, so that's good.
Did you get involved with the Michelin tire testing here in the test?
Not so much, no. It was done by some other driver, by I think Antonio and Juan Pablo. I did more long runs for the engine.
So tell us about that engine for this circuit.
It's very powerful for sure. We had a few engine failures though, so we are a little bit worried, but it's looking very good today, so hopefully if we finish the race, I think we're looking good.
Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Well, always a concern, and this will put the premium on engine reliability, there's no doubt about it, in tomorrow's Grand Prix.
Well, David Coulthard, quick through the speed trap. Oh, he gets it wrong. and this was going to be, I think, the beginning of a lap where Coulthard would build up and could improve, but not after the error in that first chicane. So he's just cruising around now and saving the best of the tyres until he comes back and can begin it all over again.
Yeah, so a little disappointing for the Scotsman. Meanwhile, Jensen, he's out of this. Jensen Button's out of it with that spin earlier on. I'm just trying to look at who else is not running at the moment. Barrichello, of course, still not running.
Just watch Coulthard as he turns in with that lock-up. He just overran. He didn't get the car position. He couldn't slow it down quite enough to make the switch from right to left, and he decided to abandon that lap. Ruben's back in the pit. He might as well get into his civvies, because the prospect of getting out before this session, there's only just under 19 minutes remaining. So hugely disappointing for the Brazilian, and also for Ferrari, that they should have two fairly substantial problems for their second driver, with brakes on Friday morning and now an engine failure on Saturday morning.
Eddie Irvine, and currently 7th fastest in this session, looking to qualify top 10 again, as he did at Spa, and that was really how he managed to come through to take only the second point scoring race of the season after Australia. Great relief for the team after all the changes that have been made. 7/10 of a second down at the first split on Michael Schumacher's current fastest time.
Well, he's some 0.2 of a second behind Kimi Raikkonen for 6th place, and then we just look to see whether that's going to, think this is going to see an improvement in position. It may result in a marginal improvement in time, but I suspect, in fact, that this lap is just another bit of information gathering and experience for the team. 1.9 seconds away, and no green showing against Irvine's name on the timing screen. That's button 5 on your handset. So another lap, and maybe just another opportunity.
So there is Eddie hard at work. Ride with him again. Cosworth engine, of course, the V10 power unit, certainly delivering the horsepower. And across the line, he stays where he is for the moment, no improvement, 7th fastest, so he's not bolting on new tyres and trying to set the world alight just yet.
Well, David Coulthard has got it together on this lap. He's our personal fastest in that first sector. Nothing remarkable in the second one. Wait to see what happens. So again, Coulthard about 1.5 tenths behind Ralf Schumacher, who's currently 3rd. Coulthard and Kimi Raikkonen have got vast improvements in this car over the last 2 or 3 races. So he does improve his own personal best, gets closer to Ralf Schumacher, but not close enough to take 3rd place.
Take another look here, John, really using the curbs, wasn't he?
Well, that's part of the reason why. That was in the second chicane. And again, that oscillation you see, I mean, bouncing aggressively, and I think that he improved in first and third sectors, but didn't do it in that second sector. There's the reason why.
Well, we'll see quite a lot of aggressive use of curbs, I'm sure, in the qualifying session itself. It's hitting them just right so that you can still carry speed. Look at Montoya using a lot of road there. This is a good time coming up from him, although he's 0.2 of a second slower than Michael Schumacher to that first checkpoint, but it's still going to be quite a decent lap.
Fastest of all in that second sector, and 1/10 of a second away from Michael Schumacher.
Now that's interesting, John, because it was that second sector where Montoya was losing time earlier this morning. Now suddenly he's gaining time through there.
Remember, they've lowered the car. That looks like a fresh set of tyres on the car. So watch for this final run through Parabolica. Can he get the power on early? Can he maintain a balance? This is where the Michelin cars have been a little bit difficult, but looks perfect for Montoya.
He's in the 20 and he's fastest. Montoya goes faster than Michael Schumacher at 1:21.319 by 9 thousandths of a second. A good lap there from the Colombian.
So can Montoya maintain that pace? Will Michael Schumacher go quicker? We've got 15 minutes of this session remaining, and here is Michael Schumacher, but this lap, well, it's just another lap for Michael Schumacher. It is not going to see him regain that fastest position, not in this one anyway.
Still, things are now beginning to hot up a little bit. Just 15 minutes to go in free practice before the meat of qualifying begins in a couple of hours' time. And Michael Schumacher looking to try and take pole position here in Italy for Ferrari in this wonderfully successful season that they're enjoying. Constructors champions, world drivers champions, all wrapped up. Rubens Barrichello heading for 2nd place in the drivers' title battle. Michael wants to start from pole in Italy. We're looking at Montoya. He made a mistake coming into that first chicane.
Yeah, that was just after he had set fastest lap, and maybe he just got a little bit excited with himself and overran. And now he's going to go, well, he's still out on track, he's still on this lap, but he may, and Patrick's face, look again, I mean, marvellous expressions. I mean, all you want is Lucien Freud to paint that, wouldn't it be wonderful?
Well, the Bulldog Patrick Head keeping a close eye on everything that's going on, and seeing Montoya go to the top of the timesheets. I think that's pretty much the first time that we've seen anyone other than Michael, except for perhaps the very opening laps of yesterday's free practice session.
Fisichella up to 9th, a good performance. So we've got 2 Jordans now in the top 10. Away, 8.881. So just getting a little bit excited looking at the screens.
Now
Barrichello, well, fantastic job.
Yeah, that's a good effort by the Ferrari team. They didn't get that car back until about 5, maybe 10 minutes before this session began. And here they are, ready to come out, by the look of it, with 30 minutes still to go.
Oh, and there's Ralph giving up plenty coming through that second Lesmo. You could see even oscillation on the outside front tyre. Normally you see it on the unloaded inside one, but there was on the outside Ralph pushing very hard, personal best, first and second sector. So this is going to see an improvement in time, but more importantly an improvement in position. Raikkonen is third, and he's 1.5 tenths ahead of Ralf Schumacher, and this could see Ralph go up third quickest.
So up through the final corner, here he comes. He's got Fisichella just ahead of him. Fisichella peels off to come into the pit lane, so no problems there for Ralph. And looking to try and move, yes, he does move up into third place indeed, and he's just a few tenths of a second behind his brother Michael. Montoya, his teammate, still fastest overall as Rubens Barrichello. Just over half an hour it's taken for them to change the back end of that car.
That is a fantastic effort by the Ferrari to do so. I mean, obviously they just put a complete back end on the car. They don't have to split the gearbox and engine. As we look at Michael as he gets it all locked up. Oh, and he is in big trouble. He is in big trouble. He's not slowing down anywhere near enough. And let's see how he negotiates through these various rumble strips that have been placed at that second chicane. They may have been adjusted to enable drivers to make a bit of a straight line through it, but not to take advantage of it in terms of lap time.
It actually seems to be working reasonably well, John, because they are having to slow down more than they used to. In that situation last year, they would just come off the brakes, protected the tyres, gone straight across the green. Now they stay on the brakes because they know they don't want to hit those things too hard.
Yes, I think it was just a question of just aligning them up to enable drivers to get through without having to bump over them. But at the same time, as you say, they're not able to use it to their advantage and gain any time benefits from such.
So it looks like the speed ramps are staying, and the drivers are just going to have to put up with that. We'll see. I'm sure we'll see somebody get it wrong in qualifying and really hit those things hard, but that's the price you pay for getting it wrong. Montoya ready to come back out, is he, for the last part of this session? He's fastest overall. 21 laps he's completed so far in the 2 sessions this morning. Fisichella's completed 27, as has Raikkonen, and 28 laps have been completed by Alex Young.
So Felipe Massa once again quickest. Oh, and that's Lesmo too. If he did that yesterday, he got away with it. He's done it again now, and he's gotten away with it. And he seems to have real charm. He gets away with so many manoeuvres. I mean, anybody else would have been, well, backing out of the throttle, going tank slapping all the way down that short straight before you head up to the chicane.
Qualifying is going to be all about not making those little mistakes. It's a real tightrope you have to walk here at Monza to get it a really quick lap in. It's taking risks over the curbs, through Lesmo, not to run too wide on the exit, and Massa just pushing a fraction too hard. Still has to wind on the lock, doesn't he? Compared to the Ferrari, it always seems like he really has to wind the lock on.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a problem with that. It doesn't matter the amount of lock, as long as you're happy with the balance of the car. And if that enables you to get confidence and just get on the throttle, we'll do it that way.
Let's take another look here at when he ran wide just a moment ago. Gets into the apex, but then just carries too much speed through into the gravel, but, as you say, keeps it straight, doesn't get into even a slight fishtail.
Here's his teammate coming up to this third chicane, Nick Heidfeld, who got it wrong some few moments ago. This time, much better in. Just holds that throttle, then full throttle again on the exit. And Heidfeld down in 13th place, not showing any particular improvements on this lap. So Barrichello back into the pits, having done that out lap on a set of used tyres. Now Ferrari going to throw a brand new set of rubber at Rubens' car. The tyre bounces all over the pit lane. As we look at the Heidfeld comes across, well, not an awful lot of Heidfeld. 23.6 is best, 23.677. So he was within a few thousandths, but nonetheless He'll be disappointed to have his teammate in 8th place when he's down in 13.
Less than 10 minutes to go. Tyre change here for Barrichello as they endeavour to get him out quickly once again so he can get a decent number of laps in towards the end of this session. Still disappointing that he hasn't done more laps today, but he may well not lose out too much. If he can get a decent run in now, track conditions will be much closer to as they will be in qualifying. So if he gets a decent feel for the car now, it still should set him up well for a decent qualifying session later on.
Yes, and also he might be a bit angry, and when you're inhibited from running, as Rubens has been, you just get in and you drive the car, you put all the other emotions out of your head, just drive it, and sometimes if drivers could do that on a more regular basis, a lot of more performances could be available.
So Montoya, Michael, Ralph, Raikkonen, Coulthard, De La Rosa and Irvine inside the top 10. Also Massa, Fisichella, Salo. Then Takuma Sato 11th, McNish 12th, Heidfeld 13th, then it's Villeneuve and Trulli.
Change of steering wheel for Barrichello as we watch Irvine as he comes into the first chicane. Irvine still in 7th place, just behind teammate De La Rosa, but about, well, the best part of 0.4 of a second slower than the Spanish driver, so it comes down to this first checkpoint, then half a second. Not Irvine's best to date, but we wait to see what he does around the rest of the track.
Barrichello comes out then with those new tyres on. Let's really get an idea of what he can do with the car, presumably in pretty much qualifying trim and on a brand new set of tyres, riding with Irvine now.
It's a great feel to be a Grand Prix driver, to have that car, you know it's working, you're doing your job, putting the two elements together. It is the best job in the world. 0.8 of a second, that is not bad, and that's a personal best intermediate second sector time for Irvine, so he could maybe find some improvement. He needs to find the best part of just under 0.4 of a second to improve position as well as time.
Just a little bit of traction control you could hear working at the as he got on the power and now accelerates over the line. Let's see, that puts him 7th, so he's still just behind his teammate De La Rosa.
Trulli. Yes, Irvine improved in time but stays 7th, but he's very close to his teammate Jarno Trulli. Well, that's down at the first chicane, and has he lost the engine? No, he's got it going again, so he's got to do a bit of an unfortunate way. He's driven against the flow of traffic, and I don't know how he managed to get away with that, because had anybody else been coming down, they may well have wondered what was going on.
Still, he has managed to rejoin, as you say. Montoya's just come out of the pits as well, and this is a replay, John. Let's see what happened to him.
Fuel flap, yes,
waving.
Yes, we've seen that happen on quite a number of cars. I don't think that was the reason he got it wrong, but it just happened to be coincidence. In the meantime, Irvine has improved in his first sector. Felipe Massa has improved in the second sector. So with just over 6 minutes remaining, it's all getting very hot and exciting.
It is. Here comes Fisichella. Well, it's not a particularly quick time from the Italian in the Jordan, but we've got a number of cars out there. 10 cars currently on track, including Juan Pablo Montoya, but not Michael Schumacher. We do, oops, bit of a mistake there from Fisichella. We do have Barrichello out there, of course, and remember, he's on a new set of tyres, so let's keep an eye on the other Ferrari in a moment or two. He's just heading down through the first chicane, so we'll pick him up in a few moments as Irvine comes round to complete another lap.
Well, Irvine's coming in. He did a very good first sector. He lost something in the second sector, and he's decided to come in with 5.5 minutes of the session remaining. So we want to see Rubens Barrichello. There he is. He did a 26.526, and that's what we saw on the screen. And this has been in the garage for the best part of the session, missing out virtually all of the early part of Saturday morning's 45-minute session, and Rubens is on it.
Well, we know that with the Bridgestones on most cars, maybe not so much the Ferrari, don't know yet, but it takes a lap or two to get the tyres really working hard. That'll be fun in qualifying, John. We'll see more laps than we normally do, perhaps, because generally it's just one flying lap they do. With them, we might see a couple this time.
Well, we're certainly going to see a lot more traffic on the track, a lot more of the session, simply because of the way that the Bridgestone tyre operates. I'm not convinced that Ferrari can't do their time on the first flying lap, certainly in the case of Schumacher. Nevertheless, there may be enough life in the tyre to go on and do a second timed lap and possibly see an improvement as well. Barrichello slots into 8th on a 22.9, which I have to say, out of the box, after all that messing around, isn't too bad.
No, he's coming up to behind a lot of traffic, though, going down towards the first chicane. So, and off the track goes Montoya, running wide.
Yeah, first and second sector times were not matching what he had done on his fastest lap to date. So maybe Juan Pablo just pushing too hard, maybe simply overdriving.
Well, it's something that one has to be very cautious of here, particularly at Monza. Very easy to make a big mistake. Now, is he staying at? No, he's coming back in.
Maybe a change was made that he's not happy about. Certainly the indication on the intermediate times not showing any improvement, so he's decided to call it a day. Whether that incident up at the third chicane just compounded it all or not. In the meantime, Coulthard into the second chicane.
Just 0.4 of a second down on the outright fastest to that point. Although, in fact, that's against Montoya's split time, who has the fastest lap overall. In fact, Michael still has the fastest first sector time, but this is still a good lap coming up from Coulthard. Flashing underneath the banners, underneath the bridge, through the trees. The sound really does bounce off the trees, echoes around this part of the track. And now back out into the open again through the Ascari chicane.
He's got Olivier Panis just ahead of him in the VAR, and Panis stays on the right. David comes along as Panis does the right thing, lets his former colleague, former test driver at McLaren, so he goes through. Coulthard loses nothing. He may have gained fractionally just, but in reality Coulthard not showing any impersonal bests, so his lap 22.8 against a 22.5, which is his best so far this morning.
So Coulthard remains in 5th. And Montoya, Michael Schumacher, Ralf Schumacher still our top 3, as still plenty of work going on Montoya's car, so they may still be planning to get him out briefly at the end of the session. Let's see what happened to Ralf Schumacher into the first chicane.
Well, that usual problem, and he just clips. Those are the bumps there, they're maybe not as easily negotiated, particularly if you get it wrong, as Ralf did. That again, that lock-up. So up at the final chicane. This is live action. In the meantime, Barrichello is going really quickly. Barrichello, according to the times we see on our screen, could be, there he is behind Ralf Schumacher. This could slot him up into the top 3. Right now, Ralf Schumacher is 3rd quickest. He could suddenly find himself 4th quickest at the end of this lap.
Yes, I think Ralph's going to complete the lap, but Barrichello, as you say, is on a good one here. Across the line, Ralph stays 3rd for the moment, but here comes Rubens Barrichello, and indeed Barrichello goes 3rd, beats Ralf Schumacher, a 1:21.754, and that was indeed, wasn't it, the 3rd flying lap on that new set of tyres, I think, for Barrichello. So again, even on the Ferrari, it's taking a few laps for the tyres to produce their best time.
Back to Coulthard, again nothing particularly special. His last lap was 22.8, this was 22.7, but it's still slower than 22.5 he did earlier in the session.
So Coulthard just a minute and 20 seconds, so the checker flag coming out very soon, but he should just about get this lap in before he sees the checkered, and then it'll be all eyes on qualifying and where he can put the McLaren on the grid for the Italian Grand Prix. Just behind him, one of the BARs, that's Olivier Panis. Panis currently down in 16th place, just ahead of the 2 Renaults, and I don't know whether either of the Renaults really have been putting in a...
Well, of course, Buttons hasn't been running.
Early, but truly I'm surprised that we haven't seen a bit of an effort from Jarno Trulli at the end of this session.
Well, David Coulthard, certainly if you give him marks for effort, is giving it maximum attack, and clearly not in a position to go any quicker than he's done earlier in this session. Nevertheless, he's run a sequence of laps, 22.7, 22.8, which are within 0.3 of a second of what he's done on his best so far.
Salo currently 14th and stays in 14th, so no improvement there for the Toyota driver, as Barrichello just done a slowish lap and has now stayed out there. So we might see Barrichello just putting in a quick one right at the end of the session.
Yes, that last lap was well. He backed off, maybe traffic, maybe just gathering some thoughts. But anyway, let's watch and see as the flag comes out, and on the radio as well as the flag. He's certainly on the, probably talking to race control on that two-way radio. Coulthard. Let's watch and see what he does as he comes through the long Curva Grande. Barrichello's been through, but this lap is not going to see any improvement in time.
So last little bit of running for Coulthard in this session, but conditions could not be much better than they are at the moment. Absolutely beautiful September weather here in Italy with blue sky Just a little bit of haze around, but ideal for qualifying coming up in a couple of hours' time. That Mercedes engine working well, and they've worked harder this year to try and boost the horsepower figures. A second down on the fastest overall at this point, so that's about the same sort of pace that he's been doing over the last few laps.
It's not going to really do very much for David. He may find himself with a slightly faster lap than his previous, but Barrichello is not going to make much difference.
Yeah, Barrichello also has come into the pits. Coulthard takes the checkered flag, so Barrichello didn't decide to stay out there and put in another quick lap. So I think really Villeneuve's just improved slightly. He's gone 10th fastest with a 1:23.142. So a slight improvement for the Canadian just at the end of the session there. And just taking a look down the top 10, some interesting people in there. McNish still squeezed in, he's 9th. Irvine and De La Rosa, both Jaguars, are still in there. And if they can get both cars into the top 10 on the grid, that would really be quite an achievement.
Yeah, and it's pretty tight because you've got Raikkonen currently 5th on a 22.2, and you go all the way down to Felipe Massa on a 23.2. So those cars, 7 cars covered by that 1 second, and it's going to be a very close and tight qualifying session in just under now 2 hours' time.
So for our guys who worked so hard earlier on to get Rubens Barrichello back out, their work was well justified with some quick laps from the Brazilian just towards the end of the session. 3rd fastest, and the 2 Ferraris ending up being beaten by Juan Pablo Montoya. It could be quite a battle in qualifying. We'll just have to wait and see who will have the edge. A little concern, of course, for Ferrari, the fact that they lost one of those new engines for the qualifying session, but otherwise good reliability being seen as ever by the Ferraris. Michael Schumacher's had no technical troubles whatsoever as far as we're aware. Eddie Irvine then ending the session down in 8th place with his teammate De La Rosa just a fraction faster in 7th place, and that's likely to be the situation in the session. The teammates are likely to be very evenly matched around this circuit, a lot of it down to the aerodynamic trim and horsepower of the car. Not a lot the driver can do about that, and not many places the driver can make a big difference through his own individual brio, perhaps. Not as much here as at some particular circuits.
I think the only part of the circuit that's going to see any significant individuality, let's put it that way, is going to be down in the 2 Lesmo corners, because really all the segments of the circuit are about point and squirt, and then that final run out of the parabolica, where again you can maybe just eke out a little bit over your teammate.
So the times from the free practice on Saturday morning. See Juan Pablo Montoya fastest by just 9 thousandths of a second over Michael Schumacher. The 2 Ferraris running well as expected. Ralf Schumacher 4th, then Kimi Raikkonen and David Coulthard well matched in the McLaren Mercedes camp. The 2 Jaguars inside the top 10, ahead of Alan McNish, and McNish looking for his best qualifying performance of the season. Just behind him, the Honda-powered BAR of Jacques Villeneuve. Then it's Felipe Massa and Nick Heidfeld in the 2 Saubers. Fisichella separated from his teammate by the other Toyota of Mika Salo. Then Olivier Panis down in 16th. He'll be a little disappointed with that, hoping for better in the session itself. The 2 Renaults as well, not showing very well. Of course, Button went off early in the session. Jarno Trulli only on a 23.7. Then Alex Jung, 19th fastest, faster than his teammate Mark Webber at this stage, as Jung attempts to make it into the race and safely qualify for the Italian Grand Prix. So that's how the 20 cars have run this morning, and well, with these ideal conditions, perfect weather, it's all going a little bit quiet now. A little calm has settled over this historic Monza circuit at the Royal Park close to Milan, as we have a 2-hour gap until the cars will be on track. And of course, as ever, I'm sure we'll see a little bit of a delay until we see the cars during that session actually take to the track. Now, I'm glad to say that we've been joined by a man who's been going extremely well all weekend so far. Eddie Irvine joins us from the track. Eddie, great to have you with us. You must be fairly happy. Do you think this sort of performance is going to be repeated when it gets to the session itself?
I think we're looking quite comfortable top 10. We're close to DC in the McLaren. Probably they maybe have a little bit more in hand than we have, but I think we're comfortably in the top 10.
Is it the fact that being this low downforce circuit, is it down to the horsepower particularly? Is it down to aerodynamics? Just the blend? What's the difference now with the Jaguar? It really does seem to be stepping forward.
I think we've got a good tyre again. I think Michelin have come with a fantastic tyre. That's helping us. And I think the engine's, Monza's about engine, and we got an engine. And we got a better one for qualifying, so it's going to be interesting.
It is, John. You're having a pretty good weekend so far, but in the media you've been doing the normal thing, particularly your old mate DC. What is the truth about all this? Is it Stan Peacher putting a spin on what you're saying, or are these words coming from your lips?
Stan and top spin. Yeah, it's good fun. What you should know better than most.
Well, Eddie, we know that, but I mean, is it really is it a bit of spin or is it the truth?
What part?
I read that you reportedly called him a fag.
Yeah, but that was just, tongue in cheek.
Well, a fag would say that, wouldn't he?
I actually said he's got to stop being a fag. I'm worrying about what I say.
Anyway, let's get back to what's going on track. The cars look pretty good, but Pedro's that spinny or that off he had yesterday coming out of Parabolica. It looks like when the cars are running on a fairly light download, rear end breakaway is abrupt and could be a problem.
I haven't had it so far this weekend, but I wouldn't like to say it's not going to happen because it probably would. But no, I think our cars really, it's reasonably good here. We've got most things under control, and it's letting us show the engine and the strength of the tyres.
Well, thanks, Eddie. Thanks for joining us this morning. Good luck with the qualifying session, and let's hope you keep up the good work, as in Spa a couple of weeks ago. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, we're going to look back now over the highlights of the free practice session, the good work from Jaguar and particularly from Williams and Ferrari.